This is the theme. This is the now and the next, set up by TIPi Group, and we're focusing today on the travel industry. Probably pretty hard hit in the current circumstances, but we've got two really experienced chaps from the industry. We've got Chris Roe. Chris was at Expedia. He was at Podo. Spent the 8 years at Virgin Holidays and then 5 years at Accor Hotels, and is now doing something very entrepreneurial, and we'll come back to hear about that in a moment. We have Ricardo Gato, who spent most of his career on a private jet. He was at NetJets, Victor, Stratajet, and so spent 12 very glamorous years doing that. And then for the last 2 years, has become even more colourful as marketing director of Cookson Adventures. And we have Gareth Owen, who's managing director of TIPi Group, who runs with Ollie Bishop TIPi Group in London, but also lives in Rugby. So is currently saving 4 hours a day, not having to commute. So coming to Chris first. Chris, I'd just like you to tell us a bit about this exciting venture that you're doing at the moment. Just tell us about that.
At the moment, I'm working for a company called Sound Travel, and we started in September, although the business has been running for about a year. And we work with ticket providers, Ticketmaster, and other venues where we get a ticket for a concert, a sporting event, and we get advance notice of the act coming. And then we go out, contract hotels, get added value, and then create a package with a ticket, a hotel, some other added value, and then give it back to Ticketmaster to sell on their primary site when the artist goes live. So we started in September, and it was all going very, very well. We were seeing huge growth and very happy customers. And obviously, with concerts being cancelled, it's declined. But the good news is the concerts that we had booked for this year, most of them aren't being cancelled. They've been postponed till 2021. So, and you know, we had an inquiry yesterday for 2 events that are being announced this week, or later next week, sorry. So it seems to be coming back, but whether it will come back as it was, with reduced capacity in the venues, we just don't know.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Let's come back to the issues in a moment. Ricardo, tell us a bit about Cookson Adventures and your role and what you're doing there.
Good morning. So Cookson Adventures, we are a luxury travel company. We build itineraries from scratch. Everything starts with a conversation with our clients and understand their passions, their hates, where they have been, where they want to go. And based on that initial conversation, we recommend a couple of destinations, and then we go from there. For us, and when I say luxury travel company, for us, luxury is a little bit different. Luxury is not, for us, it's not staying in luxury hotels. It's more about the experience. Yes, we have some private jets. Yes, we have some yachts involved in these itineraries, but it's more what the clients can take out of it. And our clients are very curious, and they're very successful people, and they don't like just to lay down in the sun. And they like to use their holidays to learn something. So we're involved in the wildlife conservation and really give something back as well. And yeah, as Chris said, we also had a couple of cancellations, but lucky enough, we had also some postponed trips, expeditions for later this year and next year. So we are very positive that it's coming back.
Great. Okay, we'll hear more about that in a moment. And Gareth Owen, Managing Director of TIPi Group. I think actually Kitty, your design agency, created the Cookson website, if I remember rightly. Tell us about what you do and where you are.
Well, obviously as an agency, you spend a lot of your time trying to be all things to all men, while telling every brand you work with not to be all things to all men. So we obviously look at the travel industry across many different facets of it. The travel industry covers everything from hotel aggregators to flight companies to cruise operators to package holiday companies, and obviously even within those companies that specialize in different destinations and all the rest of it. So they've all been hit very differently, but all been hit very hard. So our job is to guide them through effectively how to protect themselves against what they're currently going through as best as possible, but also to help them plan for what the recovery looks like in the digital space, obviously.
Great. Okay, thank you. So, and my name is Peter Cowie. I'm hostess for this evening, for the next evening, for the next few minutes, for the next half hour. I am looking ridiculous because I have escaped to the chateau. We escaped to France 6 weeks ago, and I'm loving every minute of it. And I thought I would give a holiday theme to this little podcasty thingy-bob. Ricardo, so I'm interested to hear how you've been managing within the crisis, particularly your focus on customers and how you manage your customers and deal with them. I mean, I imagine that you have built up quite a big relationship with your customers in the planning process for some of these really exotic experiences, and then they're stuck. What happens? How are you dealing with them?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me tell you that in the beginning, when everything started happening, we were actually questioning ourselves what we should be doing and what we should be talking about. And should we be promoting new destinations? Should we be promoting travel even? And we could quickly realize that actually we should stop promoting travel like any other travel company. And we started thinking about next year. So we built a campaign and a couple of destinations that are around this time next year. That is really important for existing clients and other contacts that we're speaking with for holidays this year, to look to something for next year. With our clients, our trips are sometimes take 12 months to plan. We had a trip that we delivered last February last year that it took 1 year to plan. And I mean, involved actually discovering a new type of killer whale that one scientist for 15 years was looking for a new type of killer whale, type D, but didn't have the funds. So one of our clients actually helped the scientist, and helping the scientist was part of the discovery. And I'm saying this because it really takes time to build our itineraries, and the time that we are building is really in cooperation with our clients. So we are using this time, that is a great time to be working with them, to give them something to look for. Obviously, they are also very busy with their businesses and they are very successful people. So they have to make sure that they give attention to their business. But we are finding this time, great time to be in contact with them and to give them something to learn, to look for, and to work as well with us.
So as you're talking there, I'm just thinking, what's the most expensive holiday that I could, if I were absolutely money no object, just organize me something, how much could I, how much have you, what in terms of your track record have Cookson delivered? What's the absolute, the golden ticket?
A couple zeros.
What, free?
A little bit more than that. You're gonna go up to 4, 5.
Half £500,000.
Just our average is around 700 at the moment.
Thousands is your average holiday cost.
Yes, but it's important to understand that the trips that we're doing, some of them are 1 week, but we were just working with a family that we were planning 6 months traveling around the world. Yeah. And again, it was very educational. They have 2 kids and the trip was around education for their kids. So we were traveling around the world with scientists, explaining the wildlife, explaining the country that we were building, and we are building a website where the kids can learn about each destination ahead of the arriving there. So that's why the price varies a lot, but it goes from anything from 100K to a couple zeros.
Okay, thank you. Just helps put that in perspective. So people aren't really going to cancel these holidays, are they? They're going to move them at worst.
A mix. We had some cancellations, unfortunately, but we had as well a couple of clients that are still very keen to experience what we plan. And what we do, we don't have packages. What we do, we build an itinerary, a package completely bespoke to our clients. So on that is quite positive that they can use the plan that we did, and instead of deploying this year, we can organize it for next year. So nothing is lost.
Yeah. Okay. So Chris, I mean, you're under a very different, through a very different lens. You're going to have to deal with refunds and the strategy of refunding and how you're dealing with customers. Talk us through what you're currently dealing with.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, a lot of our events have been rolled on to 2021, but customers have the right to claim a refund within 30 days of the announcement. So we've been refunding, but and Ticketmaster, we're not actively marketing, and I don't think any travel company is at the moment, because it'd be foolish, because there's a FCO travel ban. I think, you know, talking to colleagues in the industry and tour operators, the industry's facing a bit of a PR credibility nightmare over refunds. And I think it's very, very evident that airlines, tour operators have been living off customers' money for a very long time. And as one industry colleague said, you know, the sea's gone out and they've not got the Speedos on. You know, you've got a lack of alignment between the industry bodies, whether that's the CAA, who are refusing to make a statement on what the refund policy would be, APTA pushing strongly for it, and then this morning, the CMA won't make a judgment. So airlines, tour operators are making it very, very hard to get customers refunded. That is the news of travel at the moment. It's not inspirational, the new destinations, new aircraft type, new products. It's all about these customers who are probably all financially struggling, wanting money, but being offered credit notes. So I think at the moment, the travel companies are doing really, really well, from my observation, are the ones that are A, refunding because they can afford to, and B, re-looking at when they're coming back. I think Jet2 is a great example, where they've put the whole of 2021 on sale very early so that customers can start planning, because, you know, people do want to get away after all of this. I also think companies like Google, who've enjoyed, well, you know, travel is one of their biggest sectors. They've reaped in all that money over the years. And I think now it might be a good time to give some of these bigger travel companies a bit of a break and say, here's a proportion of what you've spent over the last years, go and restart the market. Here's some Google credits. But I can't see that happening very soon, because, you know, the market does need to be regenerated. But what will be left? We saw Virgin's announcements, BA's announcements. I don't think there's a travel company in the UK that isn't looking at their cash flow, their balance sheet, or looking at cost cutting and coming out very, very different companies out of this, meaner, smaller, with a lot more of a startup mentality, not carrying as much fat in the head office.
And Chris, how do you think we're going to get out of this? I mean, I notice, I went past our local airport the other day, and it was just jammed with planes parked up,
Yeah.
big famous airlines. And then we hear on the news, you know, BA making massive redundancies. We hear Virgin closing down Gatwick. You know, it's not going to be turning on a switch, is it?
It's not, no. My wife trains cabin crew and gets them to the safety requirements they're needed so they can legally fly. And she made a very good point that, you know, if you look, as you say, you're in the Dordogne regional area of France, and you've probably got a collection of European airlines sat on that runway because it's cheaper than parking at Heathrow or Gatwick. You know, Prestwick has got some Virgin flights. You know, the aircraft are all over the world. The crew are all at home furloughed or in lockdown. It's not going to be a case of starting your car and driving off to Ibiza or Mallorca. You're going to have to get the planes from these regional airports all over Europe to the hubs, you're going to have to make sure the pilots and the cabin crew are up to speed with their safety checks. So I think it will take a bit of time to get things going, just to get the logistics of getting an aircraft up and running again, because it's not like starting a car. It has to go through a lot of safety requirements. So I'm not an expert, but I can't see that happening overnight. But the other question as well, I think you have to ask, Peter, is we might want to travel, but will these destinations want us because we were late going into lockdown with coronavirus?
Mm.
And even if they do want us, do you want to be in a small island in the middle of nowhere with only one ventilator?
Mm.
And if you're over 60 or at that vulnerable age group, will you be able to get travel insurance?
Mm.
So I think there's a lot of different variables that kick in to say, before these companies start marketing and selling holidays, there's a lot of other things that need to be considered of what's going to motivate customers to travel, because there's so many barriers. You know, Spain is talking about a coronavirus certificate. You know, aircraft all over the place, can't get insurance. Do you want to travel to a small Caribbean island with only one ventilator? So there's a lot of considerations that not just the industry, but the consumers are going to go through when we do come out of this.
Yeah. Interesting. And Ricardo, you know, Chris, they're talking about the way things are going to change. I think people will value their time and use their time differently, perhaps. And obviously, there's only a minority of people that can choose a Cookson holiday, but the essence of what you're offering about constructing and appreciating time and family together I think possibly will be more relevant than ever. How are you coping with that? How are you planning to change that? Or maybe you're not.
Absolutely. And I think for us, we don't see, and we hope, and I believe that we're not going to see a big difference, because in terms of trips and in terms of what the clients are looking and asking from us, because what we are known for is to take our clients to remote locations and where actually they have few access or interaction with other people. But just to touch point on what Chris said about what travel companies are doing, absolutely, they really have to prepare for the trips that they are doing. For example, we are working on expedition at the moment on board of a yacht, and the date is not yet certain, because obviously we are not going to deliver these expeditions if we're not certain that it's safe. But down the line, what we are actually planning is to have the crew and the boat in quarantine, and our expedition leaders are going to be that destination also in quarantine, just to make sure that the clients are safe. So it's that kind of activities and precautions that all travel companies have to think about.
Yeah. And Gareth, with a wider view, just touching on the travel industry, but also from things that you're seeing from other TIPi clients, what's your observation?
I think the observation is that everybody needs to be as flexible as possible. I think even with a supplier the size of Google, and Chris sort of alluded to this as well, they've made a lot of money out of the fact that it's just an auction system, and people, companies, try and make as much revenue out of their adverts on that as possible, and they all effectively bid up against each other. The second COVID started, and the second the first advertiser pulled out of holidays, or bidding on keywords like holidays to Florida, the rest of the market started to see lower cost per clicks. And if you imagine where that's got to now, it's incremental. What used to be incremental growth is incremental shrinking in Google's revenue eyes from search. So what will be really interesting is how flexibly and how quickly people can bounce back. And I do mean people as much as I mean companies, because the lockdown could well be quite a phased approach to removing it. There will be, as Chris said as well, certain types of people might well want to go traveling on the one hand and have the budget to do so post lockdown, but actually not be insurable, or might feel that it's actually too dangerous to do that. So basically there will be massive amounts of opportunity in the market, huge number of little pockets of opportunity for providers of certain types of holidays aiming at certain types of travelers. But you're not going to know until you're actually in the moment which ones are going to be the real areas of growth. Also, almost all growth in the market is going to come at the expense, effectively, of someone else. We're not going to just, as we've said, go back to the old ways, the old volumes of people going on holiday, and certain destinations won't be viable, and certain types of holidays, certainly, thinking of cruises in particular, won't be viable either. So all growth will come at the expense of somebody else. It'll be the companies that are quickest to spot the opportunity, whether that's an opportunity around a certain destination or a certain market segment, or whether it's being able to set up some kind of relationship with a travel insurance provider if you're a package holiday company, so that there are large sections of certainly the over 60s that would love to go on holiday, but they're possibly uninsurable, they're possibly scared of doing it. So how do you take advantage of that market opportunity? Well, there might need to be some serious flexible thinking going on at very senior levels to make sure that you can take advantage of it, because the risk would be that someone else will.
Thank you. Well, just sort of wrapping up. So I'm going to, Chris and Ricardo, thank you so much for your insights into the industry. And Gareth, thank you for your input too. Chris and Ricardo, I'd just like to end on what your holiday plans are. Where are you going next? Chris, starting with you and your wife.
I was meant to go to Ibiza last night to open up my apartment, but that's been cancelled. But yeah, my next family holiday is August the 21st, Ibiza for 2 weeks to the apartments. So yeah.
Pretty confident you'll get there? I think you'll get there.
I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be all right by then. But, Ibiza's only had one death. They've just opened up after a much tougher lockdown than we've had. But, a lot of the bars and restaurants have just cancelled May and June.
Yeah.
And the island has its own economy. They only tend to get 100 days of business. So it'd be interesting to see how they come out of this. Because it's 100 days of very intense business. But at the moment, indoor venues are restricted to 30% capacity and outdoor 50%, which I think will be what we'll see for another year or so.
Yeah. Great. Well, have a lovely time there.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Ricardo.
For me,
Ricardo, actually, before you start, I think everyone on this call will be joining us on one of your private jets to chunky yacht, and we're all coming in. So where are you going to take us?
Good. I have to say that, and as important for our clients, family and friends. So actually, as soon as I can fly, I will go to Portugal and see family.
Great.
So nothing remote.
Do you do educationals, Ricardo?
Yes, we do. Yes.
Okay. Could I come on one?
Of course.
Okay.
Let's talk about that.
Great. Thank you so much, chaps. That's half an hour. We're up with our time. I hope, if there is anyone listening, because we really don't know, but some of the people said they would come on. I don't suppose many of you are still listening, but I hope you've enjoyed it. And everyone, enjoy the sunshine while we've got it. Stay cheerful, and look forward to your next holidays. And save up for either something with sound, or save a bit longer for something from Cookson. Thank you very much for joining us.
Cheers, Peter. Cheers.
Thanks, chaps. Okay. Bye-bye.